before the show, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Beef, Beefmaster Educational Endowment Fund. Thank you for what you're doing for the breed and for supporting us. The Southeastern Beefmaster Breeders Association, or SEBA, thank you for supporting us, and be on the lookout for the convention and sale every August. Emmons Ranch Beefmasters, they need no introduction. They've been around for years. Thank you for always breeding great stuff and for supporting our show. C&M Ranches, Kershaw, South Carolina, the Chick family, great cattle. Thank you for supporting us. Lissy's Beefmasters, again, needs no introduction. Thank you for supporting us, and be on the lookout for their sales every year. Cottage Farms Beefmasters over in Jackson, Tennessee. Thank you for supporting us and for what you do for the breed. We'd also like to thank Beefmasters in the Bluegrass. That's a sale coming up September 16th at Shannarock Farms in Auburn, Kentucky. Thank you to all of our sponsors. We couldn't do it without you. Welcome into Beefmaster Banner. We're your hosts, Josh Morris and Jared Strickland. How's it going, Jared?
It's going good. I've survived our feeder calf sale that we had this week, so it's always a good thing.
And it went well.
Yeah, it went really well, actually.
Wow.
Prices were probably record, I guess, as far as that sale in particular. But we had some 8.5 weight steers. Some loads of them bring 251. So I'd say the commercial man's going to be pretty happy with that.
It's hard not to be happy with that, is it?
No.
If you're not happy with that, I don't know what to tell you.
Especially in our area too.
Yeah. It looked like just about all of your different weight sections. I mean, it looks like they all did good.
Yeah, we had some mid 4 weights bring just under $3. So
wow,
that's pretty good.
Yeah,
especially straight off the cow.
Yeah, and hopefully it'll be here a long time. That's what the projections are looking like. So be doing good. It's still hot here. The humidity's just been brutal. So
well, we've had a little break in the heat for a couple of days, but it's going to warm back up by the weekend.
Yeah, you told me you was about to wear a jacket the other night. I was a little bit jealous.
Yeah, it cooled off pretty good.
Well, tonight we're going to talk about the BBU steer feed out that is currently getting ready, maybe already taking place. We have Dr. Joe Mask and Lance Bauer of BBU. How you guys doing?
Good. Great, Josh. How are you this evening?
Doing great. I appreciate y'all coming on. Lance for the first time and Dr. Mask for the second time. Appreciate it. And it's always makes it much easier when people are willing to come on and talk to us. So we won't try to get too in depth. I just thought it would be a good idea to have you guys on and discuss kind of where we're headed, with the breed that people may not even know about. So, Dr. Mask, you have been on before and kind of give a history of yourself. Lance, how about giving us a history of yourself since this is the first time you've been on?
So first time I've been on, I grew up in the Texas Hill Country. We had commercial cattle. We had some registered sheep, but my main background was commercial cattle. Went to school at Texas A&M. Finished my undergrad in 2012. Thought I wanted to go teach full time, so I went straight into trying to get a doctorate and decided that's not what I wanted to do. And BBU offered me a job in 2016, so I've been on since 2016 and served in the role of a field rep and moved more into a breed improvement director type role and obtained my PhD last December, so almost a year ago now, which is kind of hard to think about that it's been that long, but it's kind of nice not to have that weight on my shoulder anymore. But just moved into more of a breed improvement type role here with BBU.
Okay. Well, and I'm going to say most everybody that has been around BBU any time already knows you, but sometimes there's things that is still neat to learn about you that maybe a lot of people don't know. So appreciate that. Before we get into the steer feed out, we had the committee meetings back in May, and I know we haven't done an overview of them since then on the show. I was there. I know everyone was there except for I think Jared didn't make it, but
No, I didn't get to make it.
They seemed really First time I've ever went, but it seemed like everybody, no matter, you always see different people breeding different things and they disagree on things, but it seemed like everybody from all aspects all over the nation just had a very positive outlook on where the breed was headed, and it was kind of nice to see. What do you guys think?
Josh, I think you're right. And it was the first board meetings that I was part of, and committee meetings in person. It's kind of strange, as Lance said. It's been since December he finished his PhD. I'm thinking at the end of this month I'll finish 12 months with BBU, and that's kind of hard to believe. It's been a year already. But I think the biggest challenge that we have right now, is not the cattle. It's input cost, it's the weather, it's drought conditions. Are our biggest, contributing factors. But I think when you sit in those meetings, everybody was pulling in the same direction. Whether you're talking about JBBA, whether you're talking about commercial seed stock, bylaws, whatever it was. And I'm with you. I think they were really positive. I think some things came out of those meetings that have got us in the right direction. And then looking forward also to October, to the convention. And, it was a lot of planning there for the BBU convention to be held in South Padre Island. And so, really positive. And I think still Lance and I, we've got a lot of work here in the office from some of the committees, but I think it's good for the breed itself.
And I agree with what Dr. Mask said, just being here, being around for a while, probably some of the most productive meetings I've sat in across the board. Good thought-provoking conversation across the board. It was a really good set of meetings. And I think convention's going to be great too. So if you can join us there, join us.
Sounds like it'll be a good time too, and a good location also. Get some good work done.
Should be.
Well, I guess moving forward, we just kind of want to talk about the steer feed out program that we kind of y'all got kind of in the works. And if y'all could, either one of y'all or both can chime in there. Could y'all just kind of give us an overview of what we're looking at on this feed out program?
Well, when I first came on board, we were I was tasked to start looking at ways that, we could gain and gather data. We've got one of the most maternal, one of the best mother cows there is. I think it can survive all type of climates. She was developed one of the 6 essentials, and one of those being fertility, and disposition, feet and legs. But then we know that these cattle will grade. And so, we've got fixing to have 2 years of data on what we call the noble steers. And so those are half-blood steers, Beefmaster sired back on English type cows. And so we want to start gaining some data, not only on more half-bloods, but also on purebred Beefmasters. And so we did some of these tests, and, I've done some of them in the past, and looking at, that type of data. And what I think is important for us to remember when we're doing any type of enhancement of the breed is finding those things that fit into the beef industry that is sustainable. And I think we already know, like I said, we're a maternal breed, but I think the second part is the meat quality, the carcass quality. We know these cattle will grade. We know they're tender. And it's not just when we cross them. We know that the purebreds can do the same thing. And so we just need more of that data. And I think that giving individuals the opportunity to, feed cattle together, because not everybody's going to have a full load or a half load. They might have 2 or 3 steers out of one sire. And that's what's really going to be the challenge and going to be important. I think when we start looking at this program, and I'm going to let Dr. Bauer, weigh in as well. But I think one thing that's going to be really important is we have to have sire groups. So we can really look at these sires. So 3 to 5 head maybe from one specific sire, where we can gain that data. We can look at the EPDs. We can enhance what we already have. And then, too, show the industry what these cattle can do in a feeding system.
Just to, add on to that, like Dr. Mask said, we're going to be looking at how these cattle perform in terms of their sire groups. We're going to dig into the genetics of it. Uh, we had 2 really good years of results from those noble steers. I mean, showing what we could do, and to add on to the sustainability. I mean, our death and our sick loss there in the yard was very, very minimal. And that's a big thing that a lot of people overlook in my mind, is that death and the sick loss. So we're just getting a conglomeration of data. And one thing that we would like to be able to do, and the breed improvement committee's pushed for it for a while, is we are one of 2 breeds right now that doesn't have carcass-based EPDs. When the Meat Animal Research Center puts out their crossbreed EPD comparisons, and we'd like to gather the data that allows us to get those true carcass-based EPDs. And so that's what this is geared to do, is kind of push us and get more data, get us those crossbreed comparisons, and just put us there with everybody else in the industry on the carcass side.
Okay. So, in this, if you don't have an answer, that's fine. But I'm kind of curious. Obviously, the more we do it, the more head we do, they're just going to get more accurate. What is there a certain amount of, I guess, number of head of cattle before you can really start cracking down on that EPD, or is it just kind of from day one?
So to give you, the animal breeding answer, 2,000 records is a minimum to calculate an EPD that's reliable. I mean, I gave a presentation on EPDs at the A&M Beef Cattle Short Course, and kind of told them, I said, with 5 animals, I could create an EPD for something, but it's meaningless. But with about 2,000 records, usable records, you can calculate an EPD. With this, with these carcass-based EPDs, they're so correlated to what we already have in terms of the ultrasound EPDs. We could probably do it with about 800 to 900 records. And, we've got some records, like we said, from the noble steers, and we've got some other individuals that have done some sire ID'd calves that are turning in data as well. That'll help push us to that 800 to 900. This gives everybody the opportunity, like Dr. Mask said, a guy that can't fill up a trailer load of steers and send them, this gives everybody the opportunity to participate.
I guess just for kind of for the audience, could you explain just a little bit about the difference between the actual carcass data versus the ultrasound data that we're using for our EPDs?
So the ultrasound data, I mean, it's the best guess that we can get on a live animal as to how they're going to perform. And I mean, it's the best thing to do to heifers, best thing to do to bulls that are going to go out and breed, so that we can get an estimate of, what their carcass is going to look like when they hit that, what would be ideal slaughter. But we don't really get, you're not going to kill your best heifer. You go out and spend $10,000 on a heifer, you're not going to kill her, just to get some carcass data. So, that carcass, that true carcass data is going to come off of those cull calves. And I don't mean that in a derogatory term. When I say cull calves, if somebody's got a sheath requirement on their animal, and one of them's just got a little bit of long sheath, but is just an outstanding calf, that might be a good one to go into this program. But that carcass data is really going to be able to push us forward and say, okay, here's where we are at our end point.
So is that going to, I guess, when you looking at this, is having cull animals, I guess, in a way that we put it, is that going to affect the data, you think, or is that?
So that was one thing that we kind of brought up in the breed improvement committee, and I'll let Dr. Mask touch on it too. Since he's done this with some other breeds, but when I say cull, like I said, I don't want it to be derogatory in this term. I want it to be something, this animal's got a little bit of extra sheath. This animal doesn't have enough bone to go make a herd sire or go make a commercial bull. Those little minute things. I don't want the dink calf that, we don't know who his mama is, and he came in at 200 pounds lighter than everybody else when we weaned him. that's not what we're looking for. And I'll let Dr. Mask talk a little bit about, the selection criteria.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about that, because I think sometimes Lance and I visit about this quite a bit with some of the committee members. And when you start looking at EPDs and you start looking at records, I think it's important for us to know that sometimes even bad information is good. But we're not wanting to start this program with like Lance is talking about. We're not going to be starting this program with those cattle that are 300 pounds lighter than the contemporary group, or those cattle like that. What we're really looking for, like you said, is everyone has a criteria on their property. Okay, they're only going to keep heifers if they got a certain navel score, or certain bone, or maybe certain body. Well, the same thing goes to the bulls. Okay, so maybe that bull has too much color. Maybe he's got white in his flank, and you don't think that's desirable. Okay, I'm not going to get in, what I think on color or anything. I'm not talking about that so much, but that might be a criteria that you say, well, this bull, has got this white spot. I don't want him. Or this bull, his foot size is wrong, or maybe he doesn't have enough bone, or some of those things where you're going to use a knife anyway on him and send him to the sale barn because of that, not because he's, inferior in your herd. And so we want to make that really clear, that you have to have these cattle, number one, that are going to come in the program. The criteria is, when we get all this together, number one, they're going to have to be vacced. Okay, so they're going to have to come from a good vac program. They're going to have to be, those calves that are already balled out. We want you to probably have them on feed for 30 to 45 days after weaning, to make sure that, when we move them and start to commingle those cattle, that they have the immunity they need, that they're not going to get sick. They're not going to start picking up everything in the lots, because that's where we know there's a lot of things there. And so those are the type of criteria that are going to go into this. And I think that's what's important to say is, we want good quality Beefmaster genetics in this program to get good quality results. And at the end of the day, like I said, it's just going to be those cattle where you feel that, it's not one that you want to sell to a producer, but it's not one of those cattle too that you're going to just run to the sale barn all of a sudden. So there's going to be some, criteria there. There's also going to be some selection. And there's also going to be some third-party evaluations on these cattle too, so that we have a good contemporary group when we get to the lot to feed these cattle together.
Okay, so when looking into sending these cattle, and maybe this may be more of a selfish type of question, but I feel sure people will have it. Sending you some, let's just say me, sending you some of my best steer calves that I've steered and sending them to you. I send them to you. What happens then? What's in it for, I guess, the producer? What do they get out of it?
So in reality, this is one of the things we're still working out, is if, we try to have investors buy those cattle, or if you retain ownership, through the feeding process. Some of the ones I've done in the past is, the breeders themselves retain ownership through the lot. They get the data. They see how those cattle go. You can look at average daily gain. You're going to look at, Warner Brasher shear force on tenderness. You're going to look at, quality and yield grade. So, the producer is going to be able to get that information back. And I think one of the things Dr. Bauer said earlier is, ultrasound is a technology that I believe in. Ultrasound is a technology that I push, but it's going to be really hard if you go out and buy that bull for $25,000. Number one, are you going to want to harvest him to see what his carcass is like? It's kind of hard. So we've got to use that ultrasound, number one, to determine what he is. And then also, with this harvest data to correlate it back, then we can start seeing, what's in it on those cattle. And so the data is what the producer is going to get back. And hopefully some of those added premiums where these cattle will sell, on the grid marketing, where they can get, $100 to $200 more than what they would at the sell barn. And, the projection's still out there of what corn's going to do, what's feed going to do this fall, and into the spring. But we know that these cattle are bringing good money, and we know that, in most of the work we've done this far, we know these cattle have a great average daily gain. So you bring them in at 8 weights or so, they're not going to be in the lot that long. So you're not going to have a lot of expense. But I hope, Josh, that answers that. But Lance, do you want to add on to anything else on that?
Well, and I mean, it all goes back to the data that you're going to receive. And I mean, I think it'll be nice for you as a producer. And it goes back to what Dr. Mask said, not all data is going to be what we want to see in terms of publishable data. But, I'm not picking on you, Josh, but say you send us a set of steers and you got outstanding quality grade, but your yield grade's not very good. Hey, maybe I need to work on this. And, and I'm not going to send Josh's data to Jared, and Dr. Mask isn't going to get to compare his individual animals, but each individual will be able to compare to the group and how their animals have done against the group. So that'll be really, really nice in terms of that. And, two people that want to have a little friendly competition, maybe they can have a little friendly competition on it.
Yeah, that would be I guess a fun, stressful thing to do. and my assumption is, Lance and Dr. Mask, just, coming out of this, if, like you said, if one thing's not quite as good as the other, what people need to realize is you guys and BBU are there to help. If they have questions on how do I make this step to get better, what should I do to find that, my assumption would be you guys, and I know all of BBU would be there to help them.
No, absolutely. And I mean, sometimes the most valuable data is the data that you don't want to see. I mean, it's me going in and finding out that my cattle don't grade. I need to work on it. That to me is sometimes the most valuable data. It's not the prettiest thing. It's not something you want to brag about, but it lets you know where you're at and what you need to work on. But of course, Dr. Mask and myself, after, we get through stuff, and I mean, even now, call us with questions. Hey, I'm needing to work on this. And that's what we're there for. Help you out, help you improve. Because if everybody improves their herd, we're helping improve the breed.
Yeah, that's a lot of good points right there. And I kind of like, you're talking about the program and the advantages of it. I can see, like, right now, if corn does go down a little bit, which it's looking like it is, this opportunity may be better because you may, like Dr. Mass says, the premiums there to do it, and be more advantageous to kind of a good time to do it anyway, as far as when prices are not the best. And also, I kind of like thinking about kind of some of the next questions we're looking at. You're talking about different things you mentioned about sustainability and death loss and things like that. Just imagine what the prices are right now, how much a lower death loss is going to bring in for, as far as wanting to use Beefmaster influence genetics, because having steers die that you've paid $2,000 for is not going to hold pretty quick.
Exactly. And I think that's, we talk all the time about this word sustainable, and, in our daily lives, we talk about sustainability, but I think that's one of the things that we can truly say that, the stuff that we already have and stuff that we want to work on, and as we're going down the road to kind of put this into motion and see it through, is that whole word sustainable. And I think that Beefmaster cattle are sustainable. I think that, whether it's purebreds or crossbred cattle, I think that's where we need to be. And as we're saying, when you got zero pulls or very limited pulls in the feed yard, that's added money to your pocket when you don't have those drug costs and everything else. And it just, it seems like the cattle get better and better. And I think with more of these type of programs and more work that's being done, not only does it help the overall EPDs, where we're looking at, genomically enhanced EPDs, and we're looking at accuracies on these cattle, but it helps us, like Dr. Bauer said earlier, it helps us when we get in the middle and in front of the beef industry itself and the packers and the feeders and say, hey, look at what we've got. And so I think there's a lot of other opportunities that we have as we're feeding cattle, as we're doing more projects, they're going to be really interesting to see. And, I just want to say this, that, I want to thank the Beefmaster Education Endowment Foundation for their support of the 2 steer projects that we've done thus far, and then some of the other research that we'll be talking about in the near future that they're funding for us. And I think that group is really important to be on our side, is they're enhancing what we're being able to do at BBU because of the funds that they've raised over the years. So we really appreciate Beef and those members helping us on these projects as well.
And just to hit on the sustainability of, and like Dr. Mask said, it's kind of it's a topic you hear about every day. And it's a topic that I think if you sat Dr. Mask and I down in a room, he and I at one point may have 100 different definitions of what sustainability is and what it entails. But one other thing that people hit on is feed efficiency. I'll give you a little sneak peek. I got a call yesterday afternoon about our steers, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Mask, but that last set gained 3.6 pounds per day and converted at about 5.3. So, I mean, extremely feed efficient type of cattle that we fed this last go round from Noble. So, we want to replicate some results like that and keep that going and show everything that Beefmaster can do with this program.
Yeah, that's really good. And it goes back to everything we're talking about kind of even rolls back into the previous episode we just did with DNA. We hit the hot topic of DNA because, as everybody knows, the elephant in the room is there are people that are not very happy about the new standards coming out next year, and there are people that are okay with it. But I think when they listen to this episode and more in the future, because we're trying to get more, I guess, a little deeper into subjects, maybe, Jared, if that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Just to give people an idea of what's going on, collecting that DNA becomes even more important when you're connecting it to like the steer feed out or things in the future.
Absolutely. I mean, that will be one of the requirements of those animals, that go in, whether it's a purebred being parent verified or, at least sire verified, or if it's a half blood, we need that sire verification on them.
And what my hope is that people, producers within the BBU will realize that this is not just, rules aren't changing and things aren't changing just to make it harder on the producer or more, if anything, you'd rather try to find ways to be more cost efficient. Unfortunately, that's just not the case in the world. And I hope producers start realizing this is all for the good of their herd to do nothing but better their market where they live, no matter where they live.
I think Josh, you hit a really important point there is, we're not trying to make burdens. The new rules are that come out from any association. It's not to burden the breeders. It's not to hit on their pocketbooks per se. It's to enhance what we already have. And when we can go in there and talk about to anybody that our cattle have been PV parent verified, either on the side or the dam side or both. That really, I think, it says something for the breed that, we're out there right out in front with everybody else, and we're saying what we have is what we have. And, like I said, I know that there's talk on both sides of the fence here, but, I think that people will see the benefits as well as, it will be a cost savings, I think, down the road, but it is going to be a little heartburn right at the beginning. But once again, I think that's why we have to be, cognizant of that. And once again, let's use that word, keep this breed sustainable is where we're going.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope this isn't too blunt, but I just feel like, people need to realize you're either moving forward or you're backing up. You're never just staying where you're at. And if you're happy where you're at, no matter what you're doing in life, you probably should quit, because if you're not always trying to get better, you got to back up and look at why am I not this way? So I hope that's not too blunt with all of you guys, but that's just the way I feel. I mean, if you're not moving forward, you're backing up.
Well, you always got to remember the competition's wanting to move forward. So if you ain't keeping up, you're gonna fall behind.
Right.
But well, guys, we're pretty much completely out of time. This has been a great episode. I appreciate both of you guys coming on and doing this, and hopefully as more research and things come out here in the near future, hopefully you guys don't mind coming back on and we'll talk some more about stuff. I know you guys are really busy, and it's really appreciated that you guys will come on our what I call small podcast here and and just give us the time to talk and get this out to folks that want to listen to it.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate it.
We appreciate what y'all are doing, and y'all are great advocates for us, and we appreciate because I do listen to them, and every once in a while it's okay to learn something new, and I think from different perspectives of people being on your podcast, it's a learning experience for me as well.
I think y'all done a great job. It's no issue being on here. Just let us know, and one or both, either of us, be glad to get back on and discuss anything.
We sure
Awesome.
appreciate that.
Yeah, we do. We really do. And hopefully everybody gets something out of this one. I think they will. I think it's something that just because it's so new, everybody can probably learn a little something from here. So, guys, we really appreciate it once again, and we'll see everybody on the next episode.
See ya.
Thank you.
Well, we want to thank everybody for listening to the Beefmaster Banner podcast. Please know that we are on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and we are on YouTube. Just search Beefmaster Banner. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. We love hearing from you, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you.